You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
You got it. This transmission is coming to you.
Waging war on corruption.
All right, you are go.
It's Alex Jones, coming to you live from the front lines of the InfoWar.
We are go. Paul, I want to spend this little 5-minute segment ahead of Larry Klayman coming on. I want to spend this little 5-minute segment getting your take on it, because I see you getting frustrated in your news videos, your nightly news reports, with the folks that don't do any research but just wildly throw out whatever conjecture is, and then we get lumped in with those people. But it's worse than that. They then get mad at us when we don't agree with everything they're saying or doing. I think we should all just question everything, go off research, go off what's been proven as accurate sources, and historical perspectives. Humans do the same stuff over and over again. I mean, InfoWars is not really about theorizing. 90+% of what we do is just cover what's already known. It's just so fantastical. Truth is stranger than fiction. A lot of people can't deal with it. But, I mean, what do you think about this whole term conspiracy theory? Because for me, it just means someone who questions known liars. Within that compendium, or that spectrum, though, of completely kooky stuff on one end and government propaganda on the other, I see myself as in the middle, a true moderate trying to discover the human experience. What is truth? I mean, I think that's the great aspiration in life. Paul?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
people are poisoning the well from my perspective. I mean, I look at it from a perspective of motive, like the ISIS beheading of James Foley. That clearly had a motive to justify military expansion in the Middle East and a potential attack on Syria, which they couldn't get done last year because another of their conspiracy theories failed with the chemical weapons attack. But that had a clear motive, so I questioned it. Turned out we were proven right by the experts who analyzed it, said it was staged.
That's the experts to the British government say it's fake.
Exactly, they work with the British police. Then you have something like, you know, the death of Paul Walker. This is a Hollywood actor who wasn't even political. My problem with it is every time somebody in Hollywood dies, like Robin Williams or Paul Walker, people immediately say, oh, he was assassinated by the Illuminati.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're talking about the schizophrenics that say that I'm Jeff Bridges and, what's his name, Bill Hicks.
Yeah, it's a noisy minority. Thankfully, it's still a minority.
Well, really, it's entertaining. I mean, I got to be honest with you, you know, and you do it too. I call them and say, what's the latest? I don't do this anymore. I swore it off 5 years ago. I've really cut back. We used to call up swapping the worst attack videos on us as entertainment. And you know, the hater videos, I repented to God, though, that I love hater videos, because it's just, they're so sick and pathetic. It was a form of narcissism that I was enjoying it. But I mean, it's amazing, the phenomenon of schizophrenics now having access to YouTube and all their fantastical stuff. What must it be like for them, though, as all this real stuff goes on? That must be really freaking them out.
Well, that's precisely the frustration, isn't it? There are so many real cover-ups, real conspiracies taking place right now, and they're focusing on the death of some, you know, actor in Hollywood that drove his car at high speed. It just doesn't interest me when there are so many real hardcore issues that you can dig into.
And remember, we got blamed for Paul Walker saying that it was a missile when you had a video debunking it.
Yeah, I put debunked in the headline, and people still say, how dare you say this was a conspiracy, because they don't watch the video. That's the problem most of the time.
Well, part of it is the dumbed-down nature. I mean, the public is so dumbed down. I mean, they are so dumbed down. It is so sad, Paul.
It's sad, but, you know, with the internet, democratization of information, we've got such a wide range of access to everything now that. But then again, we've got a lot of noise, so it's about picking and choosing what's credible and what's not, and I think that's the balance that we try to get.
Sure, and that's why they spend all day in the mainstream media and other places saying we're not credible. Well, we're incredibly credible. We're having a huge effect. We're growing exponentially. We try to tell the truth. People know that, and they know we're really looking for the truth, looking for justice. That's where we stand, and we're not with the government conspiracy theorists or the poor mentally ill people out there. It's just, but look, the government has lied so much, I don't blame folks for believing nothing. You know, even stupid people know they're being lied to, so they come up with stupid theories, but at least they're trying to think. Paul Watson, thanks for the time. Great job with the articles.
Thanks, Alex.
We'll be back with Larry Klayman, and we'll look at Obama and his move to turn over the carbon taxes to the UN outside of Congress. Stay with us. From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Waging war on corruption, crashing through the lies and disinformation. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday, the 31st day of August 2014 worldwide transmission. We are now into hour number 2. And we are going to be joined by Dr. Michael Kaufman. I'll tell you about him in just a moment. He's in several of our most powerful films like Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Look at this headline. Obama looks to skip Senate on new UN climate deal, The Hill. It should read, Obama becomes dictator. Breitbart, McConnell, Obama's congressional bypass with UN treaty does serious damage to rule of law. Yes, it does. And now the New York Times and others are giving him political cover, saying it's no big deal to shut down more of our plants and put tracker boxes that just so happen to be in all the new cars in your car to tax you by the mile. Obama also announced last Friday that he'll be signing an executive order in the next week to end deportations of illegals. He's already opened the border up. Here's the Associated Press from Friday. Obama plots bypass around Congress on amnesty through executive fiat. I mean, that's the AP. This is bigger than Obama, even if you're a Democrat. This is about presidents becoming dictatorial. And sure, they're elected, but it's the special interest that put them in there. So it's the bureaucracy and the whole thing doing whatever it wants. Put our troops under UN control. Remember, he said that 2 years ago to the Congress. They said, you got to get authorization from us on Syria. No, I don't. I have the UN. I have NATO. That's worse than him being a dictator. He's like a stooge, a viceroy for these globalist corporate interests. Well, the man who back in the early 90s put together with the UN maps, the master maps showing half the country off limits. You can just type in Dr. Michael Kaufman, UN maps. You'll see the global maps, the U.S. maps. Half the country in red off limits, another quarter of it or so limited use, less than 25% open use. This is Agenda 21 that I've been covering since 1997 when I made the film America Destroyed by Design. I'm not tooting my horn, but you heard it here first. I'm glad everybody else covers it now. We have a chance to beat it. The problem is now they should, tell Kaufman, oh, the UN's not going to try to take over. Oh, there's no such thing. Now it's like, oh, yeah, the UN, they tell us what to do. So Dr. Michael Kaufman joins us. He received his BS in forestry and MS in biology at Northwestern Arizona University at Flagstaff and his PhD in forest science, University of Idaho. He taught courses and conducted research in forest ecology and forest community dynamics for 10 years at Michigan Technological University, a leading forestry school in the Midwest. He's the president of Environmental Perspectives, Inc. He's written many books, bestsellers, about the attack on our Constitution and more. And his website is epi-us.com. And you can buy his book at americaplundered.com. We have this segment and the next to get into it. I tell you, Dr. Michael Kaufman, people watch that film 8 years ago, Endgame, that you're such a big part of, and it freaked people out at the time. Now it's all come true. I'm told by filmmakers, you name it, that film is evergreen. Truly something I'm proud of. That's why I talk about it so much. Even though I've had other films seen 50, 40 million times, this one's only been seen probably 20 million times for free online. Still, that's a big victory. The DVDs, 200,000 in stores. I mean, it's had a big effect, but you're a big part of it. We're now seeing global governance out in the open. But not just that, Obama saying his authority comes from the UN. This is beyond constitutional crisis.
Yes, it is, and it's really tragic. But you and I have been discussing this for, 15, 20 years now. It's nothing new. It's just finally starting to happen where people can see it. It's almost impossible now for people not to see it, and yet they continue to decide they're not going to pay any attention to it. It's really unbelievable. When you have a nation that is at risk as much as the United States is right now, to have people out there just willing to be blind, you can't describe it any other way because it's right in their face, willing to be blind is just beyond comprehension. It's a state of delusion that I never thought I'd ever see in my lifetime.
It's as if the country is in a trance. For folks that don't know, they go, oh, we'll let the UN run things. Explain to people what they've already done in countries they've gotten control of.
Well, there has been plenty of evidence to suggest that they have a program of ethnic cleansing, not just a little bit, to the tunes of tens of thousands of people in the past. Now, they're not doing that right now, at least not we're aware of, but the fact is that they have no compunction whatsoever. Their whole ethics program and so forth is led by nations that are literally blind to anything talk about human ethics and so forth.
Exactly. The UN promotes NAMBLA. They're a member of the UN.
Yes. It is everything, no matter what you look at, they are a totally corrupt organization that does exactly the opposite of what most people in the United States would want to have happen.
Well, even if they were good guys, we don't need some foreign global group run by other countries carbon taxing us. I mean, imagine.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a very good point, because we have a system of government that has served us very well with very strong, at least historically, private property rights. That's disappearing now. That has given us the ability to become the wealthiest nation in human history. And the United Nations has exactly the opposite form of governance. Most of you in the listening audience know what that means. It means that the United Nations will control everything. It'll control every action. And, of course, that's what Agenda 21 is designed to do, is to control every action that you and I and everyone else takes in this world. It gets to tell us what we can and cannot do. Specifically on every particular issue that we want to. There will be no such thing as private property rights with Agenda 21, and that is one of the characteristics of Agenda 21 that you have to know. It totally destroys private property rights, and private property rights have been studied and known to be the source of all wealth creation. You cannot create wealth for yourself and your family without private property rights. You cannot do it unless you're in a position of graft and corruption and so forth within some sort of organization. It could be private, it could be public, doesn't matter. But that's the only other way that you can legitimately create wealth is through private property rights.
And it's what's created prosperity and invention and innovation.
Yes.
It's not even debatable, but now we see collectivism and socialism pushed everywhere by the United Nations, and now our president. I mean, back when you helped, testify to Congress and beat this stuff back in the early 90s, now they just say, hey, who needs Congress? That really shows who's running things. It really shows how dictatorial this thing really is. It's very bold. I'm really worried if Congress doesn't slap down Obama and the bureaucracy that this is just a major precedent.
Well, you got one of the things that we have to do, and of course it's not going to happen in this election, probably won't happen in 2016 either, is that we have to get these people out of Congress and our state legislatures, even our county commissioners, that are progressives. These people are dangerous. They're utterly dangerous, and we will destroy this nation if we allow them to continue to do what they're doing, because everything that they think of, and you can go back, and this is what my book, Plundered, goes into great detail, is to describe how this group of people, since the time of Rousseau in France, has systematically destroyed the countries in which it had power over, and is doing it in Europe today. It's doing it in France especially, because they're really over the hill. And most of your nations like Russia or the former Soviet Union, China and so forth, have followed this model of governance and have literally killed tens of millions of their own people because it's so barbaric.